Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the move that the government have made to prevent recorded parliamentary scrutiny of Boris Johnson's Brexit deal and the work of the powerful committees that it sets up, which will have a profound impact on our lives and yet no real public scrutiny. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So when Johnson presented a bill to Parliament to ostensibly approve of his Brexit deal, which didn't actually need their approval, there was no serious time to look at it at all. He dropped the deal for them at Christmas and had them voting on it before the end of the new year. It passed, of course, and should have been as preferable to no deal. But just because there was no serious scrutiny of the deal before it was voted on doesn't mean there shouldn't have been any scrutiny of the deal. Consider the fact that the deal does not represent a fixed relationship between the UK and the EU. This isn't just a case over the next few months or years, experts looking at it and then getting it out to the public what it actually means. It's going to be an ever-changing relationship. It sets up committees that are going to meet at least once a year to discuss various aspects of implementation, and those committees can, if both sides agree, put in effect changes. So all of this accusations about the EU being this behind closed doors, shadowy, unelected bureaucrats deciding things for us was never the case as EU members, but it arguably could be now. So, in other words, the deal means that we have to continue to negotiate with the EU on an annual basis on a whole range of issues. Oh, but hang on a minute. Didn't Boris Johnson promise to get Brexit done? Well, if we're gonna carry on negotiating Brexit over the coming years with no end date set for this deal to stop, doesn't that mean Brexit is just going to keep going? Yes, that's what that means. And this is something that he and his cabal are clearly keen to avoid being seen in the wider public, because a cross-party group of MPs had been set up to investigate all things Brexit deal, and they were wanting to set up an inquiry into the full implications of this Brexit deal now that it's been decided, and would of course interviewed everyone involved. Those interviews would have been recorded for any interested member of the public to refer to, because it would have been a select committee hearing, effectively, all recorded. Well, Jacob Rees-Mogg, leader of the House of Commons, has decided, hang on a minute, if these things go ahead, people will be seeing constantly that we're still negotiating Brexit. We can't let people see that, so he shut this committee down. Now that means if there's no parliamentary committee looking at the most important treaty to be struck in this country, I would say in living memory, certainly, but arguably ever, then, well, questions can still be asked, sure, but those who need to answer them will be under no obligation to do so. And if those who need to answer them are, for example, government ministers or even civil servants, and the government stop them going to answer those questions, well, that's not going to happen. There'll be no clear public record in the House of Commons library for people to refer to. For our expert scrutiny, we'll be reliant upon media reports. But the problem with media reports is they run the risk of being a little bit biased. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. But the problem is you could point someone to one thing in one publication and they go, oh, that's biased, I'm not listening to that. Difficult to argue with it. I mean, sure, politicians are biased as well, but a cross-party group covers everything from every angle. So you largely cancel that out. Also, importantly, there can be consequences of telling a verifiable lie to them. Naturally, this isn't technically something the government can just do. They can't just shut down a committee of MPs. It's Parliament that is, after all, sovereign. But, the nature of our first past the post democracy is that the vast majority of cases, governments basically control Parliament quite tightly. The last few years, before the end of 2019, was something of an aberration in that this not being the case. Now, reporting to the Independent in the Independent newspaper highlighted exactly why this committee is needed. So it gave an example of work they'd already done very recently in Home Secretary Priti Patel claiming that Brexit will make the UK safer. Now, we know this isn't true because experts have said that it's not true, because we've pulled out of this arrangement, pulled out of this arrangement. There's 1 in 10 criminals in the EU would be able to pass into the UK. We would never spot them because we're pulled out of these systems. But that's, again, you read in media reports, and some people go, I choose not to listen to those media reports. But the committee, which will carry on, it exists now. It'll carry on until the 16th of January before he shuts it down. They were able to interview experts who confirmed that actually we will be less safe as a result of this Brexit deal that we have agreed, cross-party group of MPs. This is just one example of the sort of Brexit reality that the government are desperate to suppress. This is the danger we face. Too many people assume that once the realities of Brexit came into force, people would see them. Well, this is not a given. For example, at the moment, our trade is massively disrupted, hugely disrupted. I'll be talking about this again tomorrow. There's hardly any lorries. Where's the lorries, John? Where are the lorries? But people are not paying attention to that because, look at the newspaper headlines, it's all about COVID. So it's not a given that people will see something happening even when it's happening. The very people, for example, most hurt by austerity still helped the Conservatives with 3 further general election wins because many of those people still voted Conservative. People don't see things. Most people need things pointing out. This committee would have helped point them out. Yes, Boris Johnson and his cabinet ministers would no doubt have still lied to that committee because they have no shame. But senior officials wouldn't. They would be much less likely to get away with lying to MPs in Parliament. There could be very serious consequences for them, so they wouldn't do that. They may try and evade, but they will not lie. So the truth would have come out, just as it has done on the issue of UK security post-Brexit. And we've already started to see the impact of Brexit on our trade. Like I said, we've been spoiled in many ways since the EU reformed, because before then, we had to expend quite a lot of energy on dealing with trade issues that came up all the time. With the EU's formation, most of it just went away. Certainly in terms of day-to-day problems with the single market, and we're now seeing the issues that third countries have when trying to deal with EU customs. We've got businesses complaining about these ridiculous systems that make no sense. And these issues, which will pass by ordinary members of the public, even as they lose their jobs because of them, could have been highlighted by a committee of MPs who would provide a public record of what the issues were, what has caused them, and what the potential solutions would be. You can't rely on the media for that. For example, this weekend, the BBC was noting about the disruption to trade in Northern Ireland. But what they didn't point out was that Boris Johnson promised that there would be zero disruption to trade for Northern Ireland. So, the BBC are billing it as well. This is just what happens. And in a way it is, but it's also very much against what people who voted Conservative to get Brexit done last year, or the year before now, voted for. They should have pointed out that this is a breach of that electoral promise. And, the select committees are very, very useful for holding government to account like this. For example, when I've mentioned before about Michael Gove, he keeps saying, we're going to employ 50,000 new bureaucrats to manage all this bureaucracy that's now marvellous. We were going to get rid of it, but we've changed our mind. We actually love bureaucracy now, apparently. And we're going to employ 50,000 new customs officials just for this Brexit bureaucracy. And it was this select committee that kept asking him all through last year, how many have you got then? How many have you employed and trained up, Mr. Gove? And I don't have the figures on me. Then the next time they'd ask, I don't have the figures on me. What, really? Even though you knew we would ask you? Yeah, I don't know, I forgot. And he just kept doing that, which, so it's not on record as how many we've got employed and trained, which makes me think we've got about 10. But without that scrutiny, you might just see the announcement that, we need an extra 50,000 customs officials. We've made we've set up the arrangements for this. What they mean is they've set aside the money, and then people will just assume it's done. After all, they said they were going to do it. They said they were going to do it for Brexit. Brexit's here now, so I guess they must have done it. We only know it hasn't been done because this committee drew those evasions from Gove. And this committee would have highlighted an awful lot over the next 6 months as well, which they're not going to be able to, because although in theory Parliament can say, no, we want this committee to stand, we know that it won't. There won't be enough Tory rebels to insist upon it. And so, you know, the government will get to be able to delete it. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.